Good evening all, welcome to the stream, good to see you all. Good evening to Jadomo, Socially Confused, Speak No Evil, Merch Stunner, and to Ray Lauderbeck. Good to see you all, guys. Wonderful to have you here. It's been a bit of a week, so if you haven't been paying attention to what's been going on this week, we've got some stuff to talk about, and if you have, we got some stuff to talk about. So there's a lot going on, really exciting stuff. Really interesting. Drop Yogurt, Stakara God, good to see you both this evening. Hope you're both doing well. Let's kick things off with my favourite sound in the entire world. Yeah, cheers all. Thank you very much for joining me. This evening's drink of choice, if you're listening, Herefordshire Brewery is Stowford Press. So we'll start there and we'll see where the evening takes us. But yeah, a lot to talk about. Looking forward to getting stuck into it all with you. And hopefully, I say hopefully because it's going a bit hectic with work at the minute, but hopefully there'll be a video out in the next couple of days regarding what it is that we've seen. It will be aimed more at those people who are trying to figure out what the hell's going on with server meshing and Pyro and what the big furor is. Hopefully we will give that I'm looking to give that information basically. So I know you guys are used to it, and the long-awaited, is it? Bear with me. God, it's because I've got, for some reason, it's coming through two different things, which is somewhat worrying. There you go. Good evening, Jock Cop. Good evening, Limited. Good evening, Edison. Good to see you guys. Hopefully that has fixed it a little bit for you guys. Question mark? I mean, I don't know. We'll find out, right? But yes, hopefully that's where we are. Yeah, so lots coming, and then the long-awaited, much-anticipated prison gameplay video, which has absolutely done my nut. I'm not gonna lie, it's driving me to tears, to the point where I'm actually considering just binning the whole thing, because I realise it's not particularly new. It's, you know, this gameplay's been around for a while, but I did want to have a go at covering it. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, how it plays out. But yeah, some interesting stuff going on. For those that maybe have not heard, CitizenCon on the 19th and the 20th in the UK, in Manchester. I will do my level best to be there. Basically, the only thing that's going to stop me now is not getting a ticket. And Manchester, for those that went in 2019, I was there as well. They used some of the side halls rather than the major convention spaces. So hoping that they'll use the main hall, give us some more space. Certainly makes sense, given how they ran the last one, which was they didn't want to do what they did in 2019. This time round, they wanted to give everyone the chance to see everything. Back in 2019, there were 2 stages with concurrent performances, and you had to choose which stage you would watch. So if the 2 presentations came up that you wanted to see at the same time, tough. So yeah, not great. But good evening to Ghost Hacker. It says 2012 to 2024, well worth the wait. This game will be amazing. Here's hoping, right? Jock Cop says, I hear the war's over and we can all go home with the game finished. Joking aside, jump gates is a big moment. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, some people have overplayed their hand with this, but I don't think we can underestimate just the importance of the server meshing. So yeah, as you say, a big moment. Good evening to Burger Pops as well. Good evening, thank you for joining us. I will actually take a sip of my drink now, having showed it off to everyone. I'm sure that's breaking some terms of service by me drinking on stream, but oh well. Drinkers by name, drinkers by nature, right? Very exciting time to be a backer, says Drop Yogurt. Absolutely. Hope they go big, says Limited Response. Yep, 100%. Macho, good evening. Good to see you, my friend. Good to have you in. So yeah. So first off, I'm just going to jump across. Let's see if we can just take a very quick look at this one. Kind of freaked out now. I want to make sure all my levels are working and that we're not being bombed by anything. We're all good. We're all good. Yeah, so the save the date. looking to be there. The good news is I was due to deliver a training course within the Coast Guard the week after this. Because no one's yet been assigned to that course, we've been able to reorganise the whole thing, which is great. So now I will be around. It means I can stay in Manchester on the Sunday night, not have to do that whole day, and then travel straight home. It also means that I might be able to take that week as leave and be able to, you know, put some videos together and do some stuff. But not quite sure what I'm going to be doing from the venue, if anything, because my biggest concern is that I want to spend time with the people that are there. There's a few of us going. I know Can is going, Edison's going, Jock Cop, I think you said you were going, right? And there'll even be a couple of people from the US over. I know Execute and Algrid are trying to be there from Australia, so I really want to maximise my time with those guys. Maybe we'll capture some of that in video, but I don't want to muck around with the live streaming, because what you guys see here takes a lot of preparation, especially when you've got other people. There's notes, there's everyone getting on the same page, knowing the flow and that sort of stuff, even though it doesn't seem like it sometimes. So yeah, I just kind of want to sit down and have some beers with people. Do you know what I mean? So yes, we will certainly deliver some content to you as soon as I can after CitizenCon. But I'd really like to see people there, even if it's just a quick hello. I will be wearing the hoodie to represent the brand. But yes, we'll go from there. Matthew says, might go as well. That would be awesome. Drinking wine, white or red, Jock Cop? Because pink isn't the answer. So white or red? I'm hoping red. I'm a fan of Shiraz Jamshed and stuff like that. But yeah, good choice, sir. Good choice. So yeah, Limit and Respawn says he's going if he can. Awesome. I would love to see you there, buddy. It would be really cool. Awesome. Yeah, we'll... So there's a group of us staying. I'll put the details up in the Discord of where some of us are staying, just because it's a hotel and who cares. So if people want to meet up, obviously I'll also have my phone on me, which has Discord. So we'll do a channel for those that are there. Sitcom cam, oh god. I mean, maybe I can pick up. There's I've got a work benefits thing that means you can buy tech on credit, not on credit, on time hire purchase basically, but there's no credit involved, and there's GoPros and stuff. So maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know. We'll have a look. Jadoma says I'm going if my legs are up to it. Well, I really hope they are, mate. It will be really good to see you there. But yes, and we'll do some meetups and stuff. I think we're going to get there on the Friday, have a couple drinks the night before. Saturday we'll really smash it. Do Sunday hangover, because that's the only way to do CitizenCon. And then, yeah, Monday we'll see. I'm hoping those that are coming across from America, we will, with any luck, be able to do some stuff in London, maybe. One of the things that I really want to do for the people that are coming across from London is there is an event going on in the UK at the minute, which is a Starship simulator. So it's like a live event theatre thing. So you get your crew together, you go in, you all get roles, but all the feed-ins are done by live actors and they pop up on the screen and all that sort of stuff. So, and you get a mission and it's like 75 minutes. It sounds absolutely carnage and just silliness. But I think that might be quite cool if people want to come across and do that. Edison, I'm sure you may want to do that as well if you're going to spend some time in London, seeing as you're in the UK, but entirely up to you, dude. Jock Up, I'll just drop the link in chat for you now. So those that aren't in the Discord, that's the current link. Please, by all means, pop in and we'll see. But yeah, those are the plans for CitizenCon. Going to be there, maybe do a little bit of being on camera and stuff, maybe in the build-up while we're waiting, that sort of stuff. So yeah. Oh, awesome, Jock. That'll be great, mate. We'll have a look at that, and it's in Vauxhall, so yeah. I'll put the link up at some point. I'll pop it in Discord. But yeah, looks really good. If it doesn't work, because I don't know how long it's running on for. At the moment, it's June with more dates to be added. So yeah, we'll get there. Good evening, Scott. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us. But yeah, do you look like you're made of money? Well, I mean, just use your OnlyFans money, Edison. I mean, Jesus, come on. I don't have to make all the solutions for you, do I? But yeah, so that's kind of the plan for CitizenCon and stuff. And now that we've done that, let's have a look at the monthly report. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to have a read through this. This one reads like an absolute essay, where others have been fairly light on detail. Even though there are a fair few pictures, there is an awful lot of stuff in this monthly report, and it's crazy. So yeah, I did laser tagging, and the most friendly kills is your colorblind. Nice, limited. That's yeah. Remind me never to get a laser tag with you, like ever. But yeah, lots of bits and pieces in here. There's also a sneak peek that came out on Twitter a little while ago, so we'll have a look at that as well and see what we can make of that as a group. But yeah, lots of stuff in this one, and I'm just going to pick out the highlights for me as we go through. There's lots of stuff being hinted at in here. It's clear that they've got a lot of extra stuff, I think, that they're trying to get into 3.23, and they're going to see if they make it. And the proof is in the very top line. AI features continue to develop features for a key initiative, the first iteration of which is planned for 3.23. So there's stuff they're not even mentioning at the moment that's still going to come. That's really cool. Junior officer in charge of cleaning, says Joe Cop. Yep. Mate, it's all yours. You're good. AI tech. Again, things about the navigation system, pushing trolleys around, spaceship behaviors for ship versus turrets. Yeah, lots of bits and pieces in there. But what I'm sure people will be really interested in is that there are changes to the Polaris, including interior reworks. So it says some interior sections were worked up to establish a visual target, whilst others were redesigned. So the interior is not going to be fully as we expect it. There's going to be some changes. It'll be interesting to see what those are. There are 2 upcoming variants. There's the Aegis Retaliator and work on their modules going on, which is interesting. 2 unannounced vehicles here with only one minor issue between them, and another new ship. Yeah, so just awaiting its final lighting pass before damage and do work. So yeah, interesting. There's a lot coming. 2 variants, 2 unannounced vehicles passing the Lot Zero. It's interesting that they say vehicles, not ships, but that could mean nothing. And then base, cargo, and bombing and torpedo modules for the Aegis Retaliator, which is currently undergoing its gold pass. So a long-awaited part or rework for the Retaliator coming in, along with modular gameplay, and it does look like the Retaliator is going to be the test bed for that. But I might be wrong. Interesting. Guessing animals, says Jock Cop, for the AI feature. I'm assuming that looks interesting. Yeah. That'll be cool. It might be the Intrepid, but I don't expect to see that till Polaris is flight ready. Pass. Yeah, lots of bits going on, community stuff and all that sort of stuff, and then core gameplay just reads like it's an essay, right? It's almost like a bullet point list. There's there's so much in here. It's almost like they didn't have the space to flesh out each section like they do with the other one. So lots of it refers to what we saw in Inside Star Citizen in the week, which is all the FPS improvements. So it's got stuff about magazines are now repacked in the player's inventory, looking down iron sights, folding iron sights, and now all iron sights are now folded down when you add a scope, which is useful. Itemware and misfires being worked on. There's the whole added a game option to hide the F prompt and added a new control hint where an off-screen interaction is available. So if you don't want that whopping great button thing appearing as part of the new player interaction stuff, then you don't have to. It doesn't have to be there. So yeah, that's cool as well. Yeah. Jadomo's having problems. I thought it was your legs, dude. You're having problems with the keyboard and stuff. Yeah, I mean, what's really interesting down here, a couple of bits that have picked up, is this bit here. So life support is now fully integrated into the resource network, with life support generator and tank now fully functional. One of the things that they said a while ago, and we were wondering whether it was going to still be the case, or whether they changed their minds, was things like certain resources that you have on board are going to require topping up. So things like the life support generator. And I don't know if you've noticed, with the medical beds on the Pisces, there are cartridge slots which seem to be some sort of expendable, almost like ammunition or supply for the medical bed. So yeah, a lot of these things are going to get kind of supplies and you know, require some sort of ongoing maintenance and logistics, that sort of stuff. I'm not a fan of reading either, says Limited. No, absolutely. There's lots in here. Good evening, Janos. Good to see you, buddy. Thank you very much for joining us. It's cool, but I always hope we could co-witness. Sorry, Scott. What's to that? I've probably moved on. There's a little bit of delay in the stream, as you guys know. Silly little immersion thing. Okay, got you. But yeah, there's so much in here that it's, you know, a lot of this is referring back to stuff from CitizenCon, but of course not all of this is slated for 323. So there's stuff in here like the life support generator and tank that we're not yet going to see in game, because obviously resource network not slated for 323 as far as I can tell. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. Iron sights and optics. Yeah, there's certain, you know, there's ways of mounting sights on guns, so you can mount stuff at a 45-degree angle, so you can have the gun on aim with a proper kind of higher magnification sight, because alignment of the gun is far more important at range, and then you can kind of cant it 45 degrees, exactly like you would do in like Tarkov, and there are other, like Ready or Not, I think, can do it as well. And you can kind of come up on 45 degrees and use a reflex sight or something. Matthew, good evening. Good to see you, buddy. Excited to see the memes of the whole. Oh God, stop it! I'm going to stop reading out what you say, because you're an absolute monster. Yeah, they're working on radar and scanning as well, which is good to see, because I still don't think that that's working particularly well. There's custom lobby stuff going on. There's engineering experimental mode, so this is obviously all Arena Commander, but this is pre-main release. So that's really cool to see that happening. And I know the custom lobbies, they're kind of are really important, because there are orgs out there who want to practice stuff, and they want to go into lobbies and be able to do that as a group, and the custom lobby will enable them to do that. So that's really cool for groups that want to get organised. Interesting that they're updating reputation-based hostility, ensuring that if someone is being attacked, any nearby allied or security faction members will come to their defence. This also means that factions with negative reputation with the attacked players will not intervene. Lol. So, yeah, never liked that dude anyway, as he's getting, you know, hammered by railguns and whatever else. And so yeah, so persistent and instant hangars work began on the instanced interior system. This manages which hangar instances exist, need to be created, and which physical gateways are used to transition between the instance and the rest of the game world. There was a post on Spectrum about needing a lot more spaces, and actually clever management of the instance spaces could go some way to alleviating that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do it. The team implemented the initial version of automated cargo loading and unloading, including display information on ASOP terminals that the ship is currently unavailable for retrieval due to being loaded or unloaded. This looks very much like this initial version, at least. You won't see the ship being loaded. It won't be in a hangar. You are going to preload it and then call it out of the ASOP terminal once it's loaded, hence that it will not be available for retrieval. It kind of, I guess, would be nice to see it going on to the stage where you can see NPCs kind of loading your ship up or whatever, but from a reality point of view, I don't know how likely that is. As someone points out, as the player caps go up, more on that in a little bit, it's going to be pretty hard to take up hangars with automated loading when there are only so many hangars available. Because sure, you can have instanced hangars, but they can only come out of so many hangar doors, right? And if two people in instance hangar 8s want to come out at the same time, it's going to get messy. So yeah. CitizenCon says, I use better setups in real life, so I always wanted to do it in game, but oh well. Like I said, just a little immersion thing. Yeah, and I'm sure they'll kind of go that way, with more customization on the guns and more modules and stuff like that. I think, however, given the choices that they want, I don't know if they're going to go for dual setup like that. But it does happen in real life. But yeah. Oh god. Yeah, I'm going to leave chat alone because you lot are weird and dirty and stuff. So yeah, economy, it's a little bit worrying, I guess, still at this point in time that the economy section is light, but I suppose it's also understandable. Obviously, the network team are really hard at work on server meshing, more on that in a moment. But, you know, so the infrastructure that Quanta needs to build on isn't there yet. So it's very hard to work on Quanta when you don't know how it needs to work in order to do what it does with the back end stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They keep mentioning XenoThreat. XenoThreat is getting an update, a facelift, hopefully to coincide with the way the Idris is working now, the fact that we can board it, and all the other changes they've made in the game. So, you know, the first thing I'm going to say about XenoThreat is when that happens, look out on the Friday night when that is available. 100% looking to join you guys for Friday night ops, doing some XenoThreat. That would just be amazing. Really looking forward to doing that. Again, in the Discord, all that sort of stuff. We will be in there, so please, 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 just keep an eye out on all that sort of stuff, and I'll be sorting people out from there. I'm just going to make sure there's a couple of people that have just joined, so I'm going to make sure in Discord you have the right role. If you don't have the role yet, community member, don't worry, I will get around to adding you in the short term. Just you can't see much until that's in there. It's always worth as well. I'm just going to jump into the right channel. That, you know, you can come and meet me after the stream, and basically, if I'm in a room that you can get access to, it means that I'm more than happy for you to come and join and have a chat. So if you're in there, by all means, jump in, have a chat, say hello. That's the whole point of me having the Discord, is that we get to talk, and I don't necessarily have to be on camera, which is cool. Jedi Drifter, good evening. I heard there's a problem with bed logging and changes to it coming in future. Possibly, yes. We'll have a look a little bit ahead for that in a moment. But yes, just going to continue running through the patch notes. The graphics, VFX programming, and Planet Tech have been lumped together, it seems, because they're all working on very much the same things at the moment, aside from the Vulkan integration. Lots of stuff about clouds and working through artifacting they had in that, and some old issues, and they've sorted out a problem with how clouds used to come together and there used to be a line in them and stuff like that. So yeah, they seem to be doing a lot better on those sorts of things, which is kind of cool. And then it said they had some problems with the water feature stuff. They've now fixed that. So with any luck, we'll see the water improvements in, and then we'll see lots of people low flying over water and all that sort of stuff, which is kind of cool. And then next version of Planet Tech, V5, is on its way. And this is basically what we're going to see, I think, all the way through development now. Even after release, even after they have all the core gameplay loops in, we're just going to see tier or iteration or version, and it's just going to keep going up. Every time they change it, it's going to be a new tier. Or there are sufficient changes, it's going to be a new tier, and so on and so on and so on. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, so last Evo test, we have 400 people per shard. Macho, were you in that Evo test? How did that go? Do you mind, if you don't mind, do you mind just having kind of like giving us a little idea of how it was going? Because I'd really like to know what your kind of experience of it was, but that'd be cool. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. We'll just hold on that one for a second. Yeah, so player caps are going up, other stuff's happening, so we'll come to that. Yeah, so there's loads of stuff coming up with XenoThreat and everything else. This stuff looks incredible. The distribution centers, which were the old underground facilities, they're obviously now adding a lot more to them. They're going to actually be interactable locations as opposed to just somewhere you go to shoot people, which is great. And it says here that they're working on the new hangar experience, which we kind of mentioned with the gameplay thing as well. Lots more to be added in terms of the lifts and everything else that we've seen. Art is being finalised for distribution centres. Level design added the final tweaks to make sure the various areas can support all the gameplay the mission team want to add. So work there ongoing as well, which is no bad thing. New designs for new missions are currently being signed off, while content and technical requirements are underway for future hauling content, which is good. So hauling and cargo are going to be slightly different from each other. There's going to be the commodity trading that we do, which is we buy and we sell. I believe, if I'm right, hauling is that you are moving goods for someone else. So you are basically a space trucker. Not your goods, you're just moving it from A to B. So that's kind of cool. And then, as we said there, XenoThreat 1.2 continued. Changes to gameplay and the implementation of freight elevators, and they are adding the same to Blockade Runner. So this was the old Ninetales lockdown. They're adding the freight elevators to that as well. Yeah. Narrative work began on new Pyro-based missions, and we're just continuing on and on and on. Basically, it's a hell of a patch, and this seems to continue the theme from what we are seeing, which is now that them bringing the devs across from Squadron 42, the pace is really picking up in Star Citizen. And I will go out on a limb here, and I will say that, good evening, Del, good to see you, mate, glad that you could join us. I will say right now that what I expect to have happen, just from a project management point of view, not necessarily because you guys know I have no experience as a game dev, is we're going to see a massive increase in stuff that comes to the PU, because they're bringing all these things over from Squadron 42, where they've completed so much of it. They know what they want it to look like. They've got the assets, they've got this. All they're doing now is making it work in multiplayer, which isn't always as easy as it sounds, but it's a damn sight easier than going through the whole iteration process. So the work rate's going to spike for the next couple of patches. It's then going to drop down because we don't know yet, so I'm going to guess that it's not happening. We don't know whether all of the focus is bringing these features over, at which point they'll need to switch to something new, which means there'll be a delay before we get a lot of new stuff, or whether the teams are split. Then you've got teams working on new content, as well as these teams working to convert. Whatever it is, even if they are doing the latter, I think there's going to be a dip after 324, and then things will start to pick up again. Of course, if they manage to get Pyro out in the summer, like they said they were gonna, I don't think anyone's gonna care. We won't actually notice, because everyone will be too busy exploring Pyro to give a crap about the fact that 325 might be a little bit light otherwise. Just putting that out there. Which that timing sounds perfect. But yes, that'll be interesting. Yes, so Del, remind me, I need to have a chat with you, buddy, about CitizenCon. whatever. Yeah. You can talk about it and not show pictures, all that sort of stuff. Macho, yeah, absolutely. So Macho has tried the Evocati build where they've upped the player count. For those that do not know, there were a set of tests for Evocati over the weekend where they had 2-hour playtests where they upped the server count to 200 and then 400 players. So Macho's experienced this, so what he says is everything for me in an Evo build went pretty well. The only thing they need to work on is the amount of people who can enter the wormhole at the time, or at least made a better queue system. But since this is only a test, I'm not too worried about it. Same with the animations, which are now just purely placeholders. Yes, I think Morphologist described it as a bum. So yeah, no, just not good. But it is obviously all placeholder because the graphics are going. The key thing here is the tech, obviously. So yeah, really interesting. A friend with me who was in the ship with me crashed due to driver issues, but he spawned back into his seat next to me after all the reloads, which is pretty good in my book. And in Macho's opinion, Pyro this summer looks very doable. Mate, first of all, thank you very much for sharing your experience. Yeah, really interesting. Was it really hectic with the 400 player tests, or was it manageable? I'm going to go back up in my chat to catch up with stuff. Yeah, I don't understand how that's going to work. Oh, sorry, I've come in partway through a conversation there. It looks like there's lots of chat going on, which is really great, by the way. But I'm reaching my ability. I'm losing my ability to keep up with exactly what's going on in chat. So bear with me a second. Holy cow! Oh, I see what you mean. So that's the player count. I don't understand how that's going to work with state server meshing at all. What happens if all 400 go to the same location? One server can handle that, question mark. Would hope so, but I guess that's what they're finding out, right? Unfortunately, there aren't, from what I've found, there aren't many details about what the end goal of that is. I think from what a couple were saying, that the intent is that they're going to have 200 on one server, 200 on the other, with 400 player cap total, but we'll see. Also, they specifically told people not to stress test though. Yeah, don't call everything out all at once, you monsters. Jadomo says test went a lot better than I expected. Awesome, dude. Were you involved as well? The thing I want to know is queues when random timing and trying to corral the players went horrible. Have 2 to 3 bounces per jump. Okay, that's not great. What's that? This monthly report is like word porn, says Drop Yogurt. No, Response says you can be buzzword bingo. I wouldn't recommend it. Drunk after the first paragraph. Yeah, don't do anything that's going to hurt yourself. Funny thing is, I don't drink, but I love this channel, mate. First of all, pleased to hear it. Secondly, we can't convince you? Question mark. Yeah, no, I get that. Hey Sabbath, good to see you, mate. Glad you could join us. I gotta say, the one thing I appreciate about Elite is the variety of missions. Hopefully SC is bringing that fresh variety to us. Do you know what? You are 100% on the money there, Zabbath. My big issue with the missions in the game at the moment as they stand is that they are not really... There's nothing really groundbreaking about them. My favourite mission, still, after all this time, is the PI Wanted mission. It's still that. Read faster, man, says AV. Alright, Jesus. The good news, I'm back to the page now. Yeah, as Drop says, the words are starting to kind of move before my eyes now. But yeah, the missions at the moment aren't that innovative. There's nothing really to them. You don't really feel like you're having an effect on anything. It all feels very generic. It feels very World of Warcraft at the moment. You're just going through the motions. None of it's really feels like, you know, there's no immersion there. I still like PI Wanted, which is the mission where you go to Kovalek Station Gundo. It's had the accident. It's your job to look into what's going on, and you get to choose at which point you feel like you have enough evidence, and it can swing a number of ways. And your reward is based not on how close to the truth you get, but on which party, whose side you come down on. And that's just brilliant. I really, really like that mission. I also like it because it's got audio files in it. So it's not just text. It's actual audio. It's great. It's really cool. So yeah, there's that stuff. But yeah, hopefully, like you say, much better missions need to be coming. But at the moment, they've got so much more to work on than that. I kind of see why we don't have it. Zavath, I heard the other day that the reason the Thargoids are hostile is because players in the original game attacked them and now they're hostile. They were meant to be neutral. Interesting. Yeah, you give something that neutral to players and they'll wonder what loot it carries and kill it. But the way the Thargoids were introduced, these are the weird flower-looking spaceships within Elite, is they just appeared. No one warned anyone, and there's some really cool videos of players shutting or being shut down as they're scanned by this thing. A very eerie kind of in the middle of space, middle of nowhere, no support. Some very, very cool encounters with the Thargoids before they were incorporated properly. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. But we'll see. Hopefully something like that would be much cooler with this game than what they have at the minute. So yeah, the amount of abandoned ships at the exits made me think that a lot of people crash, said Avi, with regards to the new jump gates. So that's the other thing we need to talk about. The two big bits of news this week have been player servers capacity being upped. They say to 400. We think that's 200 Stanton, 200 Pyro, but in 2 connected servers. The other bit, which is obvious from the statement I've just made, is server meshing. Jump gates. Players have tested the jump gates. March 8th, I think it was, the first player made a jump from Stanton to Pyro. Lots of placeholder stuff, but this stuff is in, and it's key for us. There's a lot of misunderstanding out there at the moment about why it's taking so long for systems to be inserted into the game. And the reality is this. They're not really working on the systems, or they haven't been. They've been slow poking at Pyro, and I understand that they have started working on another unnamed system. Likely Nyx or Odin, something like that. Because they know the server meshing is still a way away. They need the server meshing to work. Server meshing is key. And they seem to be work. So that's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's from that demo in CitizenCon where we saw the L-shaped section of server where they split it into 3 parts and they had the 3 servers running concurrently with bullets flying across and all that sort of stuff. It almost looked too good to be true. It was incredible to watch, but it seems like the underlying tech is actually working because people seem to be having a pretty good job with it. So that's yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, limited. 100%. Yeah, I get the Thargoids have turned hostile, because of what happened in the original game. Yeah, I don't think you can put people. I don't think you can put any faction into any game now that's limited, that's neutral, without them getting killed at least a little bit, because people will want to know what loot they carry. But yes, yeah, that's kind of cool to carry that consistency on between games. That's a really nice touch. Matthew says it was not too bad. Don't try to jump all at once. You'll get pushed back for 20 kilometers or more from the jump point if someone else jumps in your stead. Fair enough. How will it work when there are 200 people on the server and 50 plus jump to the other side? Good question. Well asked. This is what they're going to have to figure. I guess potentially they will go to something like, they may jump to another server, although I don't know if that's possible. Don't know. It might be that once that server has reached capacity, because to jump at the moment, there's a HUD. So you power up your quantum drive to go through. There's a number of different things, and one of them is whether or not the jump point is open or closed. So it's very possible that if that server is full, you're going to see a jump point closed and you can't jump yet. Obviously, as server meshing progresses, that won't happen. But yes, that's the intention. The bounce back was bad, said AV. Almost hit someone on the Stanton side. Pyro is rough with the asteroids. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah. Napo, good to see you, buddy. Glad to have you on. Glad you're here. I hope everything's well. And the little one's doing well. The devs are playing the long game. You're not wrong. 100%. It's really nice to see that there are other IPs out there where people are seriously invested in making it a seriously long IP. I was hoping that Starfield was going to be like that, but apparently not. But that's never mind. That's why I like CIG playing Games Master, basically going for player-driven, not player-controlled. This is why Quanta is going to be so important, is that we can influence the economy, we don't control the economy. Or we drive the economy, we don't do that sort of stuff. It's going to be important. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, because server meshing is going to need to be at that state where they at least know. So Quanta's going to sit on the back end. It's not actually part of the inherent game servers, which is why it's able to do all these different calculations at once. And they've already gone up in size. I think it's gone up from something like a couple of thousand quanta to 100,000 quanta to more and more and more. And hopefully the more they do, the more accurate a kind of simulation they're able to do, and the more detailed the universe is going to feel. There's loads of cool stuff that I like about Quanta that maybe I'll cover in a video at some point in the future. But yes, really, player caps being increased to the point where now the servers are going to run at bigger than most other multiplayer servers, not including MMORPGs. Someone made kind of like comparisons to PlanetSide and PlanetSide 2, which is not a bad comparison. So that's good news. And server meshing looks like it may well be in. They may well be on track for the summer release. Hopefully, certainly by CitizenCon. But that would be really cool to see as well. Napo, just read your comment, mate. That's great. I like that. I love that. Yeah, Lucas, you chip off the old block. Good lad. Good lad. It just puts you on another server more than likely. Noted a few times the players changed going back to the same system. That's really cool, Avi, because it's less static and slightly more dynamic that way. The fact that you can still make the jump, you're not limited to sit there going, oh, I just can't make it into Pyro because half the player base are stuck in Stanton. So yeah, that's kind of good to see. Limited says, I don't understand how people can praise the story of Starfield. It's a really interesting concept. I think it was just let down by the fact that it didn't get enough time. So if they were able to program a lot more changes so that on each playthrough you saw meaningful changes based on the decisions you made in the previous couple of games, that's a really interesting concept. It's just really poorly executed. And oh my god, not having loading screens seems really important, having played Starfield for a few hours. Yeah. And it's like, oh, get out of my ship, loading screen. I'm doing it, loading screen. I'm doing it, loading screen. Would you like a loading screen with your loading screen? Yay. So, yeah. But yeah, I like the fact it's not even players don't control the economy creates a bunch of issues, says Jotcop. Yeah, so that those that might not be aware or need refreshing on what Quanta is a system where it simulates NPCs, but it doesn't do it in game. It does it on its own simulation that's connected to all the systems. So it knows the states of all the stores, all the production nodes, all the factories, all the mines that are simulated within the game at any time. And then what it does is it looks at them and goes, well, okay, it's short here, and then the NPCs that are within the Quanta simulation go, okay, well, we'll go and do that because that's more money than what I'm doing currently, and it floods the area, and then the pirates respond, and then the security services respond. What it then does is it feeds back to the game, so when you're traveling in a space, it's what they call a probability volume. And what it does is it speaks to the Quanta simulation and goes, okay, what sort of shipping's here? And from the simulation they go, okay, well, it's a really rich area, so you've got lots of traders carrying lots of rich stuff, but also there's lots of pirates coming to the system because it's really rich, but we're not yet at the stage where there's lots of security forces because the pirates have only just started turning up, so the security forces aren't responding to it yet. And then that means that when you go and a ship comes into the game, when it's spawned in Star Citizen, in the persistent universe, the game speaks to Contra and goes, what's this going to be carrying? Where's it heading? Where's it coming from? What crew's on it? What's their risk profile like? Are they brave? Are they going to run away? Are they going to fight? Are they going to surrender? What are they going to do? And that's how the game is going to talk to Quanta, and how Quanta is going to talk to the game. So basically, if there's talk in the game about Quanta simulating a huge gold rush where everyone's mining loads of Quantanium, you go to that area, the merchant ships you attack or defend are going to have a lot of Quantanium on board. So that's quite a clever system. Yeah. Yeah, so Jello Drifter said, it would be cool if when the server was full, your ship would get pulled over at the jump gate for inspection until there's a slot. Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be happening a lot, and I don't like getting pulled over. Also, racial profiling, right? But yeah, do we know what the largest ship that can jump from Stanton to Pyro will be? Last I heard was a freelancer, but I'm wondering if freelancer max will work. Zavath, what I'm expecting is, for the initial stages, is there will be no size limit. That's going to come later, because they would be doing themselves a massive disservice if they didn't give everyone the ability to jump across straight away. So yeah. You know, I think that's going to come later. As for the jump sizes, I have a feeling whilst that answer, you could find that answer now if you wanted to, I have a feeling that it's going to be a while before they finalise it, and a lot could change between now and then. So I wouldn't hold too much store in it right now. The only way that's going to work is if they have multiple routes, which means multiple systems, which tells you how far down the road that's going to be, right? Because can you imagine spawning in Pyro with your 890 jump and not being able to go anywhere? Be a bit pants, right? So yeah, it's going to be a while. They have to change the sizing because they want the Idris to be able to go through for XenoThreat. What it ends up or how it works, who knows? Yeah, 100% that. Unless they just scrap the whole XenoThreat stuff. It may well be that they do, AV. That it might be that it's just a test that they run at the moment to prove that they can do it. Because, of course, everything they want to test, they've got to do within the confines of Stanton. And it makes sense to have it coming from Pyro, because that's the next system we're going to get, so it builds people's interest in Pyro. But yeah, it's really really interesting. Yeah, Drop Your confirms Carrick doing the jumps. So it doesn't look like there's going to be size restrictions in the initial stage. AV says, plus without the ability to get into Pyro with larger ships, the fighters will be, they won't have enough range. You're right. SOL. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I haven't had enough drink, obviously. But yeah, if it decompresses the system to the full size. Yeah, for those that haven't quite spotted this yet or have forgotten, Pyro's huge. Pyro is a lot bigger than Stanton. So where most fighters can jump from, say, ArcCorp to Microtech, or one of the other equally sized jumps, Pyro, it's not going to be the case. There's going to be a lot more hop, skipping, and jumping across Pyro to keep your fuel up in fighters than there is at the moment. So yeah, people are going to have to watch their fuel, because just getting to somewhere doesn't mean you can come back. So interesting. First time around for dynamic economy, everyone will go out and mine quantanium like normal and then get confused when the price plummets. Yes, supply and demand is going to slap a lot of people around the face when it comes into the game. But what I'm really hoping is that if Quanta's able to do those sorts of simulations, and it's not putting strain on the game's servers anywhere near as much as simulating it in-game would do, I'm kind of hoping that those trade development divisions that at the moment are an absolute pain, because you've got to go to a major landing zone and then you've got to go to the commercial district, all the while leaving your ship in the hangar, and then trade and then go back. I'm really hoping that it can start to push through live information about what the costs are in certain systems, because there's no reason it can't do that. And then hopefully it will enable us to lock in contracts, because as a cargo hauler, I don't want to make the jump 4 systems across because there's a really, there's a high demand for something, only to find out that since getting there, as you pointed out, Jock, I arrive, they've bought up loads, and now the price is such that I only break even or even make a loss on it. So I want to be able to kind of almost message ahead and go, hey, I've got you a shipment of whatever it is, 3,000 SCU in my massive hauler. I want to lock in this price before I come to you. And that makes sense, right? Is that, these lorries aren't turning up at their delivery destinations going, would you like anything from the back of the van? They know in advance, before they've even set out, what's going to... I'm just going to go this way, and there you go, put me back in the centre. God bloody camera. But yeah, so that's it. Don't forget, we went from having a hangar module to Rune Commander to a PU. We just put Arlosa with 26 people and multiple planets and moons, and 62 people to 100 people now. 200, 400 Nemo. That's giant growth. It shows the progress 100%. If you ever go back, I might go back and have a look, but go back to the hangar modules and the PU when it first opened up and have a look at it now, and the progress is more than evident. It's crazy. So a viable mission in the future might be to temporarily disable size limits on a jump point, much like disabling a comm array. Yeah, I think... I don't know if the size limits are placed by the jump gate itself or by the stability of the wormhole, or the type of the wormhole, the size of the wormhole. Don't know. We'll find out. Yeah, exactly that, Jock. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that, or whether they try to manage that, or whether they just go, do you know what, we don't need to bother, we'll leave it be. It'll be interesting to see what they go for. Macho says, someone made a video about the very beginning till later. It was fun to see and how much people got used to what they have now. What's incredible to see is the Idris development and the Idris capital ship. And just how we've already started to get used to stuff like that because of things like the 890 jump and the other colossal ships that we have to play around with, the Carrack, the Hammerhead, all that sort of stuff. The really big ships to play with. Sorry, I've got the window open, so every so often some little midge comes in and tries to have a go at me. Bastard. But yeah. We're already getting used to that. The Idris is its own location. There are maps in some games that are smaller than that. It's got your medical, it's got your food, it's got your resupply, it's got your hangar, it's got your beds, it's got a brig, it's got a firing range, all of this stuff. And then it's going to have resource network and everything else that it adds to that, along with your own logistics and your hangar and your MPUV and all that stuff. That is its own location in a game. That's like a whole town in other games. Yet you own it and you'll fly it around. And we're so used to the idea now that we're sat there going, yeah, that's an Idris. There are people in other games going, you can what? you can own that and fly it around. Are you an absolute nutter? But we're used to it. To other people, this is going to seem really, really crazy. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see that when it gets in. Really excited for the Idris owners who are going to get to play with one. A little bit jealous, I'm not going to lie, but yeah. Don't forget what we lost. The ladder in the middle of the Idris hangar would have been epic for trolling. Nope. Jump points are also supposed to have branching paths with random exit points, says Scott. Yeah, the other thing that interests me about jump points is they say that if you kind of come out of the tunnel, you get yeeted into the middle of nowhere. But where is that nowhere? Is a game space. Does that mean you can end up in the space between systems, or does that just mean you get thrown into that system in some random location? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Don't worry, Badgers, you can be part of my Idris crew. I'm going to shoot you in the face. Yeah, that'll be good. Thanks, mate. Speaking of the Idris being so large, in the movie 2010, they referred to the ship as being US territory and USSR territory because of the ship's due to size and sovereignty. Yeah, exactly the middle of nowhere where, yeah, 100%, Scott. Exactly that. Yeah, these ships are so big and they're only going to get bigger. You've got the Idris. The Polaris is obviously slightly smaller, but we're into that territory. What I find interesting about the Idris is how much they've crammed into such a versatile ship. I think the interior of the Javelin, based on what we've seen with the Warhammer and everything else, we're going to see so much more in that ship. The Javelin's interior is going to get crazy. There's going to be so much that they add, fleet command modules, all that sort of stuff. All the stuff that they've kind of hinted at with the stretch goals. So in the stretch goals they talk about, I don't know how I built an antenna here. In the stretch goals they've talked about a fleet command module. So, yeah, be interesting to see all that sort of stuff in action. But I'm hoping that the Fleet Command module, when they integrate VR, will give you some sort of Ender's Game style ability in VR to come out of the ship and look at the whole battle going. That would be really cool. But Gib, CIG, Gib. Jag Mason, good evening, mate. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining the stream. And a good comment to start. Some people still think the Idris is the minimum buy-in for Star Citizen, mate. I've seen very similar comments, and it's terrifying because people are going to get the Idris and they're going to realise two things. One, they are a pain in the ass to crew, and I would be very surprised if one player can do that with NPC crew. I don't think that's going to be the case. The second thing people are going to discover with the Idris is that the ability to buy one doesn't give you the ability to command one. And this is not me being an ex-Navy snob or anything like that. What I'm saying is we've all been to games, or most of us have been to games with big raids, like, for example, World of Warcraft. Being in a raid isn't the same as raid leading, and I don't think that people quite realise that being in command of an Idris, even something like a Polaris, is in effect raid leading. And it's more about coordinating players than it is about controlling a starship. So yeah, that's going to be really, really interesting to see how they manage that. Raid leading is a job, Citizen Trent. Yep, 100%. The Idris, says AV, if you're not in a larger org, will be a weekender. Think the Polaris won't get as much use as people think either. Most just don't play it with 5 plus players regularly. 100%. I think the only time I've played with like 5 plus players is when we've been doing the big event. So yeah, 100%. Grizz, good evening, mate. Good to see you. I'm getting caught up, but I'd like to point out that XenoThreat gets from Pyro to Stanton and Idris. Yeah, we were just talking about that, about whether or not that was going to be the state of play, or whether or not that's just for them to do the dynamic event thing and then it'll peter out and not make it into the full game. Because of course they've only got Stanton to test certain things, and they were trying to do the tests of the larger ships and turrets and stuff, so not quite sure. Socially Confused says, I have a Polaris, I plan on letting others command it while I hang out in the medical clinic. Nice, Socially. Awesome. I take it, is that going to be all thing, or is that your group of friends? But yeah, good plan. Jedi Drifter says, I don't think people realise that the big capital ships are going to be for running multiple missions at the same time. How else can you support a huge cap ship? Yeah, this is going to be one of those things where these ships are supported by other ventures in exactly the same way as the military is, in that the military doesn't make its own money. The military relies on funding from elsewhere to keep it sustained. So yeah, it's going to be the same thing, right? Players are going to be doing that, or orgs will have like a civilian, like an industry arm that is making the money that allows them to do everything else they need to do, as well as run these huge military cap ships that are doing their thing. It's also going to be really interesting then when you start looking at org versus org combat and PMC squadrons that have their, you know, a very strong military capability that will be employed basically as entire mercenary forces to go in, not just a couple of escorts, but basically being employed like a military to go and do something. So yeah, I'm no doubt, having seen the stuff that goes on with the Elite and the Eve universes, I've no doubt that stuff's going to be in Star Citizen as well. Judomo says, nonsense, I will have the most over-armoured box delivery addresser in the game, he says. Good luck with that, sir. Let me know how you get on. I mean, it would be lovely for them to be able to do stuff like that. And hopefully they do. Hopefully they start to at least provide the infrastructures to support that sort of stuff. I'll name the address Leroy Jenkins, says Limited. Nice. By the way, when playing last night, says Zelda, the Nomad now consumes hydrogen fuel like a normal ship would, no longer excessive fuel consumption. That's good to hear, bud. That's really nice. Yeah, absolutely. I was very drunk, says Judomo. Yeah, 100%. There will be capital missions that require capital ships, and those are definitely locked. Yeah, it's its own gameplay, right? This is raid end level gameplay, so we'll have to see what form that takes. But yeah, it's really quite interesting. So I just want to I'm just gonna pop across and let's see if I can. No, I'm just gonna do this instead. There we go. Ta-da! So this appeared on Spectrum. Oh, sorry, on Twitter. So yeah, it looks up here like you've got the front port side of a hammerhead. You got the two turrets there. Oh shit, dude, wrong screen. Nailed it. How about this? There you go. Ta-da! This appeared on Twitter. Oops. So this appeared on Twitter. There you go. I'll zoom out slightly. There you go. So that's appeared on Twitter. No clue what this is, other than I would imagine it's probably something a little bit more XenoThreat potentially. What's interesting here is there are a whole bunch of things. Not entirely sure what this thing is down in the bottom left. I can kind of see this sort of stuff down here, but on the bottom left here you've got the word initiative, and then above that there's something, no clue what that is. Top left you've got a hammerhead, top center you've got some dude in Aztalan armor, whatever that's supposed to mean. Top right, all I can see is it looks like it might say something like terminal locked or something locked here, but that second word is definitely locked. It also says civil in the top right hand corner, which with the bottom left looks like it's the CDF initiative. What's interesting down here is there's someone on the ground, right? And the bottom right, you've got the image under the word processing under the CESS. Is it? There we go. Lovely. Thank you for the heads up, Stunner. I appreciate that, mate. There we go. So in the bottom left we have, there we go. Sorry, bottom right we have the feet with the flare, and then to the right of that, it seems like it might even be the same image or like 2 shots of the same image, but it looks like it's a derelict or something. So there's certainly something, as Edison says, something down on the planet, probably as part of XenoThreat. Although up here the terminal locked, maybe that's something to do with Blockade Runner, don't know. But we do know that the next thing that's coming is XenoThreat. So, because they've said they've massively expanding it, this seems to be indicative of just that. Words are hard. Yeah. Edison says you need to hack a data terminal in the bunker, and then you go kill a long number of ships. So that's definitely a derelict or something there. But yeah, sure. By the way, do we know if Pedro Camacho, the music maestro, is still with SC? As far as I'm aware, he is. He's not the only composer that's working with it, so it might be that he's on another project at the minute, or just working on stuff that we haven't seen. But yes, I fully. My understanding is that he's still with the project. Monster AV, wonder if they're going to do just combined arms, or possibly, depending on the time frame, they might try to combine XenoThreat with chasing them down into Pyro. Would be pretty sick. Yeah, that's what's in EP to you, says Edison. Can't words hard, need beer, yeah. Roses are red, rhyming is hard. What was it? Roses are red, violets are blue, rhyming is hard, bacon. That was the sound of me patting my stomach, by the way. Nothing else. You rotted. There's supposed to be a bit more after that. Yeah, they did say that the first part of XenoThreat was going to be pre 3.23 in a point patch. We were going to get some stuff that then leads into XenoThreat when they update it. So that's going to be something that's fun to do. And like I said, community games, the only time that I get to play with more than a couple of people at once, we'll put something up in the Discord. We'll all play together. Yeah, we'll fly some ships. Maybe we'll crew some big ones. Depending on where we are with master modes, maybe we'll take a load of 2-seater fighters and fly a squadron. It'll be really cool. Need a few kg of it, mate. What? Of bacon? Holy moly. You keep that up, you'll look like me, bud. Don't do that. So yeah, some really exciting times, I think, ahead for Star Citizen. And they're maintaining that progress, which is really, really good to see. Hoping to pick up a Phoenix Emerald package next week during Stellar Fortuna, says Zabeth. Nice. That's a good shout. Belly of Pork says Limited Respawns. You're talking my language, mate. You are saying all the right things. Speaking of which, I'm hoping to give the barbecue a go with some low and slow stuff. So yeah, that'll be good if I can get that done. But yeah, Phoenix packs irritate me with a lack of insurance. Limited holes should all get LTI, says Avi. Yeah, I think it's very likely that the insurance packs are going to change, or not change. That there's going to be tiers of insurance in LTI. As bought in game will be the lowest tier of lifetime insurance, and there'll be places to go above that because they need it kind of like a money sink, like repairs in other games. The some way to like siphon money off people, like the whole auction house cut on games and the cost of trading and keeping your stuff pristine. To siphon money out of the economy, because otherwise you just keep generating it and everything gets really expensive, and then new players can't do anything. Yeah. Yeah, I get that, Avi. Yeah, absolutely. Thinking of getting a Komodo smoker, says Limited Response. Interesting. I don't know if I'm not gone as far as dedicated smoker yet. I'm going to give it a go with my Kel barbecue. I've got a Weber. Got a Weber 52-inch. It's my favourite toy. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed using it. I'm on the hunt for the 2950 Cutlass Black, best in show paint, but not willing to pay $450 Mercy dollars for it on the black market. Wow, yeah, no, absolutely not. Limited respawns. Oh man, I'm hoping. Those things are hard to find. Trying to figure out how to make it LTI. How I can upgrade a ship in the package and then the whole package goes to LTI. Don't know. You'd have to. There are people much better at the whole CCU game and insurance chasing game than I am. So they are the better people to talk to. It's not really my area of expertise. Citizen Ninja, I added LTI to my Emerald Phoenix using an LTI Nomad CCU on the Fortuna Rover, but those CCUs are hard to come by, he says. Interesting. Yeah. And like Ninja says, it's pricey. Cool. So yeah, it certainly sounds like the way, Zavith. It just sounds like you might have to pay a little bit more than people would expect for it. Similarly, what I would recommend you doing, if you're not in the Info Runners Discord, I would go and find Info Runners on Star Citizen. On YouTube. Get into their Discord as an open invite again, and have a chat with them, or have a chat in that channel. Ask about, see if anyone's willing to do you one for a reasonable price. Just take all the normal precautions when you're paying for stuff. PayPal, goods and services, all that sort of stuff, so you're protected when you're spending money. But I'm sure you already know that anyway, right? You don't need me to tell you that. Short ribs are a great start for the smoking, says response. Take a bit of skill, but forgiving and still very tasty. Nice. I will bear that in mind, sir. Sounds perfect. Let's go with that. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about was actually not so much Star Citizen related, and I wanted to know what you guys thought about it. Was every so often I'm tempted to look at another game within the channel, and it would only be a video or two. It wouldn't necessarily be. It's not a shift of focus. Star Citizen's always going to be my focus for this channel. That's not going to change, even when the game is out. It's going to be Star Citizen. But one of the games that I'm really interested in having a look at the moment, from a kind of commentary point of view, is Helldivers 2. Because that game is doing an awful lot of traffic in terms of players. Huge amounts of traffic, huge amounts of concurrent players, ridiculously high, and yeah, it's kind of crazy how successful it's being for a small studio who don't charge the earth for a game, and all they did was focus on what the game does well and ignore everything else. No superfluous skill trees, no ridiculous like dungeons or stuff you can only do every week. They've even limited what you can buy with paid for currency to a couple of items every couple of days. So if you're playing the game, you end up with more premium currency that you pick up just through playing, that you never have to spend it unless you're buying every object offering the store has, in which case you might need to buy a little bit of premium currency. But it's incredibly good. But I don't know what you guys think about me doing little bits of videos like that, because I don't want you guys to feel like I am trying to pivot away, because I'm not. Also, there's also a lot of people who are out there covering it. I was slow to that party, mainly because A, there are other games I'm playing at the moment, or was playing, and B, it felt to me a little bit like Vermintide and Darktide and Left 4 Dead and all those sorts of stuff, as people have already said in the chat, because it just felt like it was episodes, and all you were going to do is replay it on higher difficulty. And actually, it's cleverer than that. It's remarkably clever. And one of the things that I really liked that it did was they've just introduced mechs. The way they introduced that was when that update was ready, they didn't just throw it in. They then sent out this major order, which is like the objective for the Helldivers, that was, you need to liberate these planets before we give you your toys. So they gave you a bunch of in-game objectives that all the players had to work to together before they gave you the update, which was really, really cool. And a nice lore-based way of doing it. They also introduced it really cool, which was they were dropping these mech suits for players randomly. the devs were. They were in a GM role. They were also appearing as GMs in your game with these mech suits, coming to rescue you, and then using these mech suits. So there was loads of footage going around before we got our hands on them officially of these mechs and building that hype and all that sort of stuff. And it's just a really interesting way of adding stuff to a live service game that makes it interesting rather than just, oh, look, the new patch is out. But yeah, yes, Edison, I hate mortar turrets. More to the point, I hate your mortar turret because it keeps killing me. You're a monster. Stop doing it. Yeah, so Elite did a lot of community objectives, really effective. Yeah, absolutely. It's a really interesting way of doing that sort of stuff. Yeah, do it. I'm in. Says limited respawns. Awesome. I might just pop that in because I do feel like one of the things it seems to have done is it seems to have put a pause on the console wars. And I don't remember any other game doing that. So PC are playing it, PlayStation are playing it, Xbox want their hands on it. So once that's it, I've seen some great videos that people have been putting out, and it's not the normal flaming PlayStation, Xbox stuff. It's like snippets of sci-fi films with like PC players, PlayStation players, and then it's Xbox players when they get their chance, and it's like, you know, OG FPS vets, and then it's like Halo vets, and then it's all the other ones, and they're just throwing all this stuff in, and it's interesting because it seems to have just brought players together, and everyone seems to want to play Helldivers. You know, I know someone who is going to go and buy himself a PlayStation so that he can play Helldivers, which is a little bit mad, but that's the whole thing. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, if people are interested in that, maybe I'll put out just like a small video on it with a little bit of gameplay, a little bit of commentary, and we'll see how that does. But I just want you guys to know, because you guys are here every week, and it's great to have you here. I don't want you to think that I'm pivoting away, and I'm not going to become variety. It's going to be games that are based around space, or games that I think can bring something to Star Citizen, or something that Star Citizen can learn from or emulate, even if it's, like I said, Hell Let Loose, which is a World War II, Jesus, my brain, a World War II game, has some of the best multi-crew gameplay I've ever had in any game ever. And if Napo Complex is still here, he'll confirm as well. Crewing a tank in that game is incredible, and I'll see if I can get some gameplay with Napo and a few others. We'll crew some tanks. And I'll bring that across, as Star Citizen needs to do multi-crew gameplay like this. But just incredible. Really, really good. Yeah, we'll see. Has anyone managed to, or has anyone not tried Helldivers and is thinking of doing it in chat? Because you know what I'm going to say. Just do it. Okay. Let's shift us back across to Pomp. Cool. I was just having a look at some of the subscriber promotions. I had the original as well, says Zavath. I want to try it, said Respawns. No, not tried it yet, says Jodomo. We can always potentially have a very quick game of it right at the end. Standard Security Logistics. Hey, buddy, good to see you. Apologies, I saw your comment on video, meant to get back to you, and then completely forgot about it until I saw you just there, but really, really good to see it. Yeah, really good to see you, but I didn't think they could make it better than the original, but they did. Interesting. Never got to play played the original, but this is incredible. And it's all the videos, it's all the shorts that have gone out of like the last stands with the Helldivers that has just convinced me, sold me 100%. But yeah, never played it. Haven't played anything but SC for 2 years now, says Dre. Yeah, I'm tempted to do some of these in. Let's do that again. let's move like that. I'm tempted to do some of these in real life, DGP branded, something like that, or you know, like hit flasks or something in keeping with the name, not just merch with t-shirts and whatever else. But yeah, I'm going to look into it and see whether or not that's see if that's something that we can do. That'll be kind of cool, right? Yeah, Zavith, the Helldivers stuff is just very, very clever. I'm going to go back to chat and then I might load it up in the background. But yeah, it's incredible, frankly. It's incredible team gameplay, and all it does is it just focuses on that one element that it does really, really well, which is shooting stuff. Everything else is secondary. It doesn't muck around with gear stats. All the armor is, once you've got it's a type of armor, so there's medic armor and engineer armor, heavy armor, scout armor, light armor. But once you've got a set, that's it, right? That's what it does. So there are better suits of light armor to my knowledge. It's all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's really, really cool. Yeah, it's, you know, you add the stratagems, you unlock that as you go through, you unlock updates for your ship, which improve cooldowns and give you like bonuses and stuff. And then your stratagems, which is your weapon call-ins, they change the way you play the game and allow you to attack different targets and stuff. But yeah, there's that. Limited, send me a message, mate. I'd be really interested in that. That would be really cool. But yeah, Janos, the multiplayer issues, so they came back a little bit at the weekend because of the release of the mechs, and once again, players just overwhelmed the servers. There weren't enough servers for everyone, which is kind of crazy for a game like that. But if people are interested for the last 20 minutes or so, I can certainly load it up. And guys, you know who you are, in chat if you want to be in Discord, and maybe we'll get a game or two of Helldivers together. I'm sure we can do that. That's going to be no problem at all. So yeah, Del, thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate that. Yeah, Limited, that would be really appreciated, mate. That would be really cool if we could get that going. Yeah. So the only thing that I haven't seen yet is the master mode stuff. I haven't seen much of that, so what I thought it might be good fun to do for a little bit of the rest of the stream is have a look at some of the questions on master modes and the like, and just figure out, because I know there's a lot of uncertainty around what is planned and all that sort of good stuff, right? So we can certainly have a look and see what's there. Is that something people will be interested in? If you haven't seen the Q&A from Friday, that's something we could look at now if you fancy it. I shall move that across. Bonk. Thank you very much for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. It does help to drive stuff. It's interesting. I can pinpoint the precise moment that I started talking about Helldivers because the viewer count dropped off somewhat. So maybe I need to take that into account. Maybe I don't. But yeah, we can certainly have a look at some of the Master Modes Q&A, because I think that's going to be really quite important as to what happens next. So let's have a look. Without further ado, let's change you over.
And recognitions that they've gotten over their time. I mean, you could do worse. There's a lot of bands out there that are like, oh, I wish we were Nickelback. Tell everybody who you are, and what you do for Star Citizen.
I'm the lead game designer on the vehicle experience team.
And when did you become a Force Ghost?
Very recently.
Rich is calling into us from a conservatory, which is a large glass enclosure with absolutely no way to block any of the light. So
yeah, and we've actually got sunshine today, which is very rare.
Yep. It's all right. Tell me the ways of the Force. Michael, tell us who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
I am Michael, also known as Bayor. I am the Director of Player Experience.
What does the Director of Player Experience do?
Mixed bag of things. So I run the live QA team in addition to the feedback collection team, in addition to player stats analyst, lots of different things. Basically, we're responsible for what is the game like in the public environment.
I really thought you were starting with like, it's a mixed bag.
That's it.
And Brent, your first time on any of our shows, I think. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, I'm
Oh, it's good to see you,
Brent,
buddy.
and I go by XLB.
Right.
You guys, why do we have
There's a couple of different.
playing as? Don't tell us who they are. That's not this kind of show. But why do we run hidden aliases? What is the virtue of jumping into Arena Commander or the Precision Universe or the Test Universe or Evocati or something without announcing who you are and being known? What's that do for us?
So there's a couple of different reasons we do that. Part of it is our job is to provide context for folks like Yogi and Rich. When we see players say, hey, this particular feature isn't working as well, or we see them talking about anything, we need to get into game, we need to test that. But it doesn't create a fair test if we're on a CIG account. Like say, for instance, if I go into Master Mode Squadron Battle and I'm on Bayor, -CIG, everyone's going to focus on me, right? They're immediately going to go, oh my gosh, the CIG person, I'm going to go attack them. That's not a player experience, right? That's not what other people are seeing when they join those matches. So it's important for us to go in on incognito accounts and test that way.
It's the whole, the scientist doesn't want to disturb the experiment kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's when you go in there, your very presence skewers the results. So you, the members.
It's the prime directive.
Is there?
We definitely.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we definitely see that, especially in live QA. If we're on a server, people are asking us questions, but we get hunted down, and so being on incognito accounts, we can go and reproduce the issues that you guys are having, and that can even be with master modes, like Bayor said. With
It's nice to know I wasn't the only one with camera issues, right?
Really quickly.
Because these have
So
the same
when you
sort of
do
issues
log
that
in
I was
as Jared is my hero 69420, that's to collect the true and honest feedback.
Correct. Yeah. Just to get that experience, we want to get what players are seeing when they actually go into these modes. So we want to use as authentic of an account as we can.
Okay. So the reason we bring this up at the beginning of this, because this show, if you haven't noticed yet, we have a collection of our developers who have been working diligently on master modes and all things flight experience for years and years and years. And then we also made an effort this week to bring in Michael and Brent from the player experience team, another team that's been working for years to collect, test, verify, and expose potential biases from the community. Let those be handled by the resource team. I think we're still going to touch on it here and there from here. But let's start with the questions.
7 minutes of them talking rubbish.
The biggest question, the first question, the most obvious question, the one that was repeated the most, the one that we knew would come up when we were filming the interview. Yogi can attest, we scheduled this interview about 24 hours after we filmed for the Master Modes episode, a week before we aired, because we knew there would be questions, and especially this question. So we're just going to jump right into it. Given that most of the concentration has been on how Master Modes works with combat-minded ships, how will Master Modes have a substantial effect on how non-combat pilots and ships operate in the verse?
He does.
Okay, let's start with the big elephant. So in general, there is no difference between how we're treating combat ships and non-combat ships. If we want to have a consistent gameplay system, it needs to make sure that all the ships apply to the same rules, or not apply to follow the same rules. So although we have combat focused and non-combat focused ships, we still need to make sure that the non-combat focused ships are basically fitting that scheme.
This is a very dry episode.
And so the effect that Master Mode brings for non-combat ships, let's just talk about maybe like miners and salvagers, is just the same. You're going into nav mode to travel somewhere, and you're going into SEM mode to do whatever you need to do in your normal gameplay loop. So navigation or nav mode is just for traversal. And this does not mean that industrial ships are easy fodder or something like that. If we see some kind of imbalance in our data, then we usually react to that. So if we have, for example, a Gladius that's fighting against an Aurora, the Aurora is of course not a fighter, right? But it will also not be as super easy fodder for a Gladius. So what we usually do is like we give it a little bit more health or bump up some other defenses. But in any case, like you don't need to worry. Like the rule set is the same for all ships. And I mean, the other thing with nav mode that came up was whether or not you can always escape a situation. So yes, if your navigation mode is completely spooled and your quantum drive is ready, you can usually quite quickly escape whatever combat situation you're in, unless there's some specialized ships that snare you in some way or keep you there. But this is depend on a case-by-case basis. Also, Rich, you want to add to something? Maybe flight shooting
sure.
or so?
Yeah, so a big thing with master modes for us is it's not just about combat. We can keep saying this, but it's not just about the combat ships. We have reworked every single ship in the game right now. And we've got a base archetype we use. So there's a difference between archetype and role for us. So archetype is something we use internally to start a baseline with a ship. But then as we move forward, we start to look at the role of ship and what that kind of individuality of each ship means. But yeah, every single ship, in the game is going to have a rework and feel different to what it has done in the past. And there's been a big focus not just on the combat side of things, but what makes a good cargo ship, and what makes a bad cargo ship, and to make sure that the overall balance between these ships is fair, for everyone, because we do realize that the players in our game, there is some people that love combat, but there is people that don't really want to do combat. So we've got to tune ships for an environment where it's fair for everyone playing the game, and that's been a big focus of ours. Because
Yeah, I don't know how much more I can take of that, to be honest, because A, it's exceptionally dark in terms of the lighting, and B, it's exceptionally dry, and I'm not being funny. I'm struggling to keep up with it, not because it's overly technical, it's because it's pretty damn dull, right? They have to overcome a couple of challenges with master modes. The first is light fighters. Light fighters break the game. The second is that at the moment there are a couple of issues with high speeds in combat. One is that it produces jousting. The second is that it increases errors that are inherent in the programming. So the faster ships are moving and shooting at angles, the larger the margin for error becomes, and it basically gets to a point where if you're very practiced with ships that move quickly, can strafe and all that sort of stuff very quickly, you can actually game those mechanics to fool your opponent into think they're hitting you and then not, and just winning combat that way, which is no fun for anyone other than the person who's gaming the mechanics. And if you're gaming the mechanics, I have no sympathy for you. Tough. There are all sorts of problems they have. The flip side of this is that the only way that this is being tested at the moment is ships are spawning in knife fight range. So when you test this in Arena Commander, they're a couple of kilometers apart. All of the decision making up to that point has been completely removed. So, when you're your single player fighter in the face of a hammerhead that is designed to kill fighters, of course you're going to die. Because what's the point of the hammerhead if a fully crewed hammerhead can't kill a light fighter that's well within its engagement range? That's not fair on either side, right? It's not fair on the hammerhead. What's the point of it if it doesn't kill light fighters, one that's close up? Similarly, that's not fair on the light fighter because all of the light fighter advantages have been removed from it because it can't get away from the hammerhead or it can't use the speed to its advantage. Especially not when you can't change into nav mode in Arena Commander. I think that's still the kind of the way it is. I think it's kind of there's a lot that they're trying to solve with it. Are master modes the answer? Don't know. Does it make sense that in the game at the moment, people can solo things like Idris's in Light Fighters, Hammerheads in Light Fighters? No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. Those ships should not be able to do that. Full stop. The end. Just no, absolutely not. Right. In the same way that a patrol boat with a machine gun is not going to kill a warship. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. Having said that, there's a lot more that goes into that than just what Master Modes is addressing, which is speed and maneuverability. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's certainly a conversation to be had, I think, about the speeds at SCM. If you're only doing 1 or 1.5 times what something like a Perseus or a Hammerhead can do, that doesn't make sense to me. You've got to be a little bit quicker than that, which means you have to be much quicker than things like the Bengal. Because the Perseus does, 92 meters a second? At the moment, that's the plan for it. So maybe that's changed with Master Modes, I don't know. But I know the Hammerhead does something fairly similar. So Gladiuses and that are only doing 1 and a bit times faster, which isn't good. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, and Notorious has got it on the head. It's testing in isolation. What we haven't done yet is we haven't seen it in game. So in theory, those situations where one fighter goes up against a Hammerhead and just get railed within seconds, well, actually, the fighter would see the Hammerhead at a much greater distance. So you'd never get into that position of getting in that fight, because the fighter would go, nope, I'm going to avoid that, and off it goes. And it just stays away. Maybe the boosts need to be changed, they need to get a longer boost, whatever. But the idea that a light fighter should be able to start in knife fight range with a Hammerhead and boost away and survive when it's got 4 to 6 turrets trying to blow it out of the sky doesn't make sense. But then in Arena Commander, it's no fun. So yeah, it's an interesting setup. And I think this is the problem with testing stuff in Arena Commander. It's great in Arena Commander, but it's also really problematic because it's a very small snapshot of a very big picture. And what might work in isolation the minute you put it into the larger game universe might not work. Vice versa, what appears to be really awful in a game situation or an Arena Commander may seem a lot better in the mainstream. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that we can leave the Master Modes Q&A alone. I don't think there's much more in there that is really interesting. I'm just having a quick flick through the questions as we're reading, but that's just a very poorly produced episode, and for whatever it is, a couple of million a year, I think that Star Citizen Live is getting for this. That's a really bad production value. Almost all of them are sat in the dark. That's just atrocious. Even if you're having people work from home, have them take a green screen home and set it up like that. But this is just dark and dismal and awful. This is not a professional production. But yeah, the QED question is interesting. We might have a look at that one then, Scott. We can certainly have a look. But exploiting mechanics is one thing, says Scott, but if a player uses manual skill to fool an automated targeting computer, then I say fair play. Yep, 100%. Intended to make ships more viable so you don't just see Gladius and arrows. Not sure this will make people pick roles rather than just keeping them the same 2 to 3 ships viable. Nothing else gets used. Yeah, we won't know until it goes into the game. Trust me, Master Modes is the answer. Just also takes a lot away as well. So hope is that they will bring back complexity using tuning and other tools. Yeah, 100%. How many levels up can you punch? High skill, light versus low skill, heavy. Yeah, I mean, at no point, I'm not sure if I'm going to get swayed on this, but I don't know. And I'm not saying this is what you were suggesting, but Hammerhead should slap light fighters around. Full stop, the end. That's the whole point of them. What is the point of a hammerhead if it can't kill the light fighter? I'm not saying chase it down. I'm not saying outrun it. I'm not saying outmaneuver it. But the whole point of it having the coverage that it has is that the light fighter shouldn't be able to get into a position where it can avoid all of the turrets and then kill the hammerhead. Even if it can get into a position where the hammerhead can't shoot at it, I still don't think it should be able to kill the hammerhead at any point. It's just not going to be able to do that much damage. You can sit there for a week with an M16. You're not killing a tank. Full stop, the end. You're just not. I don't think matching the flight and combat mechanics for a single-player game need to be the same for a multiplayer game. 100%. Admittedly, wish they did details, show more of the plans. I agree with them. The current doesn't really work either. It's like replace one broken system with another. Yeah, work. I guess we kind of need to determine whether or not it is broken. But yeah. Going from light fighter meta to heavy fighter meta just makes more expensive meta. Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with trying to relate this back to cost is that, and selling ships, is that you can say that no matter which way you go, right? If it goes to light fighter meta, then the argument is, they're just trying to sell more ships because buying something that's $90 is easier than buying something that's $900. If they go to a heavier meta, then it's, well, they're just trying to sell heavier stuff. As someone said, they're only doing this to sell hammerheads. I've seen that comment made, and it's like, you can do that regardless of which way you go, right? They're making it harder to kill merchant ships. They're just trying to sell more they're trying to sell more industrial ships. You can go kind of any way with the sale thing. So because you can do that, because any decision they make, other than to stop selling anything, can be deemed to be a marketing decision, it kind of invalidates the whole argument, because it's like, yeah, you can say that about anything they do. So yeah. They're adding more systems. They're just trying to sell more games, right? Stands on security and logistics. I wish we had red alert function from cockpit. Changes the internal lighting to flashing red and function to tactical mode, switching power to shields and weapons. Given some of the lighting states, there was a really interesting thing in the Idris one. I'll see if I can find it just while we're talking. But there was a really interesting part of the Idris one where, sorry, I'll kill that because that's too loud. Basically, they were describing doors opening and closing and that sort of stuff. And there's a really interesting one. It's the same sort of orange doors that are in place in the Hammerhead. They're like emergency doors that open and close and that sort of stuff. What's really cool about it, so I've just found it here. This is much better footage. So I'll put this in the background whilst we're talking. So what's really cool is these blast doors. Is you've got this state, and what I really like is the fact that all the lighting seems to have changed, right? So if we go back slightly, here's these blast doors. All the lighting seems to have changed. So it may well be that we are going to get that sort of state where you can kind of set certain states, presets, and have them red alert, blue alert, whatever. Yeah, that would be really cool. Right now, it's broken in my opinion, says Monster AV about Master Modes, not just the combat aspects. I can't really do racing, excuse me, or other functions with 200 meters per second. There have been a few races talking about it. They just stay on boost outside the turns. It's like, if it's constant boost, then why is it that slow? Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, maybe there's an argument for the racers to do that, but it's like, how do you do that with the racers and not put weapons on them? Maybe they get that speed if they've got no weapons on them. I don't know. Just make boost speed the regular. Potentially. I've argued and proved that SE is not pay to win for years, but if $75 ship use 150 ship, that's literally pay to win. Of course, it's only in PvP, which isn't the whole game. Yeah, I suppose the flip side of that is if a $75 ship can defeat a $700 ship, what the fuck? It's horses for courses. That's one of my ideas, to raise boost speeds and limit booster balance. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, I think the speed is they're gonna need to have a look at that. They'll get it in. They'll see how we break it, because we're always good at breaking things, and then they'll make a decision as to how they want that to run afterward. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Awesome. I've just made contact, or just had contact. So do thank your good lady for me. I can't see her in the list, but I will keep an eye out. And when I see her, I'll give her community permissions if she wants that. But yeah, no, thank you very much, mate, for sorting that out. I really do appreciate it. But yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks for that, buddy. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting when it hits the PU. Yeah, 100%. Ascribing the pledge value of a ship to its capabilities is rescuing frustration and poorly made arguments. Yeah, I mean, we've already talked about things like, you've got the alien ship tax and the cool ship tax and the combat ship tax, and how does the Polaris and the Perseus justify being only whatever it is, $50 a part, $25 a part, whatever it is now. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I looked at buying ships, put it that way. Based on current situation, makes it more rewarding to balance power state and combat planning. Yep, 100%. Going to be very interesting when it hits PU, says Citizen Scott. Yeah, it's one of those changes that we're going to have to watch. I don't think this is going to be the final iteration. That's my gut feeling. I think it's very clear to people when CIG gets something right, is it just has that feeling about it, that it's something that's been very well implemented, very well thought out, and this doesn't have that feeling, is my gut feeling. I think they might be moving in the right direction, but they're not in the right place. Monster Raver says power system balance would help. Yeah, 100%. And there are a lot of systems that need to come online. We've got the resource management. We've got the idea that you can't have all power to all systems at the same time. So that's going to change things. We've got the armor system needs coming on. We've got all those sorts of extra bits that need adding before we get a complete look at combat. But I have a feeling when those are in, master modes will get revisited or thrown out the window, replaced with something else. Citizen Ninja says, bigger, more expensive multi-crew ships need to be more effective than smaller, less expensive solo ships. That's ship progression. There's no pay to win in SE since you can earn the ships in game. Yeah, I know. Look, you guys are more than welcome to have that conversation in the comments, as long as you guys, keep it civil. I'm not gonna go down the pay to win argument, because it's just, yeah, not the most fun you can have with your clothes on. As you may or may not be able to tell, I'm quite struggling because I've got quite a significant headache. So trying to think clearly at the moment is not working. So what I'm likely to do is I'm probably going to call it there, gents, and anyone else that's watching, just because I don't think I'm going to make it much longer. So it's been a pleasure being online with you all. I'm really sorry that I'm having to cut this short, but I'm struggling right now to keep my eyes open. It's really quite painful. So I hope that has been a good enough discussion on stream. Looking forward to getting you some actual video content later in the week. And yeah, it's going to be busy for me up until Easter, over the Easter weekend. And the following week I'm going to be away. So just so that we know that if that's when XenoThreat hits, that will unfortunately be when I am away. But other than that, it's been an absolute pleasure to be with you guys. Thank you very much for everyone, for being here and for your support and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, have a very good evening. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.